think Jio would be the best example.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Jio is the one which potentially can pose a threat to, Facebook and Google, and I think that's partly the reason why Facebook also invested in Jio, because obviously they see that as a massive threat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. So, Maciej, just for your context, Jio is a company which has investments from Facebook, from Google, from Apple, and I think
Microsoft.
and Microsoft.
Yeah. So
All
everyone
of them,
wanted a piece
everybody
of cake.
wants a piece of the pie. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I think that's the smart way to do on their side to actually have this piece of cake, because there will be some. It's impossible that they will just like dominate and there won't be any challengers to their model.
I have a small question. With connected TV coming up very strongly vis-a-vis the linear TV, would it be dependent on the open internet completely?
No, because I think the connected TV is also some sort of could be some sort of the walled garden. Especially that some of these connected TV providers also like are owned by large ISPs or media groups. So I think that's another case. And this other walled gardens, like they are probably in this open internet bubble, but they may actually make it grow faster and create some separate bubbles with them listed as the provider, because every big publishing group that have enough data about the user and enough media to send, they can create some sort of self-service ad platform. But the question is if they can match the quality and quantity of data of other big tech ecosystem, because if they have not enough users, not enough data, then probably the ad budgets would go rather to Google or Facebook, which have better data, and they will have better ROI on this advertising or better effects of this advertising, or reach more users with that.
Okay, because now with Trade Desk coming into India, they are tying up with, in fact, today I read a news about Trade Desk tying hands, partnering with Samsung Ads. So that is moving towards that direction.
Yeah, and Trade Desk is actually like providing technology mostly to just like buy the media, but the inventory and data comes from the provider that integrates with Trade Desk. So Trade Desk and other DSP platforms are good examples of just bringing the technology and interface to buy ads across many different platforms. And it's good for the market because that's giving a chance to the smaller publishers, as well as like smaller than Google, but still very big, like connected TV and other providers, because I can go to Trade Desk and buy these ads across like hundreds of platforms or hundreds of sites, rather than just go independently to each of them.
Thanks.
You know, I have an addition to that point. What is happening in India, every second company has its own platform. So of late, if you see from an Airtel ads to Paytm ads to Samsung ads, I think all of these platforms have come up because Airtel, being one of the largest telco company in India, is now looking at, milking its user base to drive advertising. Paytm, which is a fintech app, again has a huge user base due to digital transaction. So they are now looking at how to utilize that database and get advertising done. So when there are so many platforms, how do you see each of them evolving? I mean, we may just today say Google, Facebook, and Amazon is the three largest, but then there are these other side of the coin also. So how do you see these guys, playing a role?
So on markets like that, there is usually some sort of consolidation. So the companies that grow like bigger, faster, they buy some of the smaller players, and then they can be actually becoming big enough to compete with the bigger players. So consolidation is one trend. Certainly, like probably half of these companies will, or even 60% of these companies will not be there in 5 years, because that's how this business works. So somehow players will go out of the business and some will get acquired, and you will be like, long term, you will be like, there will be maybe still dozens, but large enough platforms that that can sustain the business. And I think that the example that we had with Trade Desk is a good one, that they may be platforms that just aggregate platforms. So instead of buying in Google and 15 other players, you will be buying in Google and Trade Desk, or maybe Google and some big player that will emerge in India that will just allow you to buy across all Indian platforms. And that will make it easier for agencies and big advertisers to execute their media plans rather than dealing with like dozens of small platforms.
Yep. Okay. Great. Let's move. Yeah.
Cool. So on obtaining first-party data, I will just give a couple remarks. So how we approach it, for example, in PIWIK Pro, we focus on anonymous tracking, because then we can track all visitors with whether the data has the consent or not. But this has some restrictions, so we cannot, for example, collect email or like or build profiles. But still, we have valuable data from the marketer's perspective. Secondly, first-party tracking. So using first-party tracking domain, also first-party cookie, helps us to track the users, even that they have ad blockers or use Brave browser on other privacy protection tools. And then something that is very important to some of the jurisdictions is this local data residency. So if we collect this data, we store it locally. So we have separate data centers for Europe. We have separate for APAC. We have separate for the US. And these are some slides that I will skip, because this explains more in the more technical parts. And if we have questions about that, I will we can always come back to that. There are some good practices when we need to get the consent for the user. For example, we saw that some publishers that actually force the users to give the consent, they are actually first not compliant, because that's outlawed already in Europe, but there's also poor user UX. It's good to be honest with the user. So what are the intention, and say it not in the legal language, but in a clear language, like we want to show you personalized offers or send you personalized emails, etc. And you don't have to do it on the first page view. So sometimes this opt-in may happen actually when you see the user is engaged and you want to collect more data from them. But once we have this first-party data, it's important how we can make it actionable. And part of that is this customer data platforms. So customer data platforms are used by companies to collect the data about customers from different sources. So we may have behavioral data, we may have the CRM data, and we may have some data from email campaigns, and we want to combine it, build the complete user profile and use it for remarketing, or use it for personalization of the content. For prospecting, as I mentioned, this is a bit more difficult, but there are some workarounds for that as well. So typically, what will happen on the technical side, you will have some systems which feed the data into the customer data platform, and thanks to that, we can do remarketing or personalized offers on the website, which is called data activation. For prospecting, this is attracting these new customers and new users to our website, to our apps, to our online product. And the question is how we can do it without third-party data. And this is what I said, that lookalike audiences will be on this slide, and it is actually here. So I will start from the end of the list. So if you have already a certain audience, you can use walled gardens or big publishers groups that have the technology for advertising using this method to find similar users. So basically what you do is you upload the list of emails or hashed emails to this platform, and then this platform finds similar users based on the activity on this platform and display your advertising to them. Because you may say that if these users are similar to customers that already bought me, maybe they will be also interested in my product. You may use also affiliate marketing because that will work without third-party data. It's not affected. So basically giving some sort of remuneration for referring the customers to your website, to your e-commerce. You may run partnerships and second-party data deals where you use the data of your partner and they send, for example, newsletter or show advertising based on their data. The contextual advertising still works for prospecting. So you may display the ads in search engines or in display based on the context or based on the keywords in the search engines or based on the categories of the website or content displayed. And first of all, which is I think the cheapest but the most difficult to execute properly and actually the most effort that needs to be put into that, is actually not do advertising but do content marketing and PR. Because if you can get people to talk about your brand, they will come. And there are some nice use cases on the market where brands invest primarily into this channel. For example, some of the big game publishers, sometimes they focus more on content marketing and PR than all paid advertising, because they see that they build this brand and it's easier for them to acquire users through this channel. But usually it's a combination of that, and it depends highly on your industry and on the actual product that you are selling online. So with that, I want to